Over the last couple of days, the story that Deborah File brought, Russia, China, Iran plan to stage in Syria biggest Mideast maneuver, has gone through the prophecy circuits, and many sensationalist prophecy presenters, I will call them, have tried to turn this into a war between the U.S. and its allies and Russia and its allies. Of course, they didn't mention the fact that both the Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Barack Obama made a joint address regarding the Syrian situation at the G20 summit just yesterday, indicating that they are working together to try to bring this situation under control. Of course, they're not on the same page yet, but this just goes to show you how a headline can be taken and run with and turned into something it's actually not. I've heard prophecy speakers say that they think that Syria, or Damascus should I say, is going to be leveled in the next few weeks due to this rift between Russia and the United States over Syria, and it could be within weeks. But the truth of the matter is that's simply not going to take place. And all, yes, the Bible does say in Isaiah 17:1 that Syria will become a heap of ruin, but we have plenty of time for that to take place. It doesn't necessarily have to take place today, as I've told others. So my advice to you is don't believe everything you read or see. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and say, does it make any sense? It simply doesn't make any sense at this point in time. Now, there will come a time in which this prophecy will be fulfilled. And I've made my prediction of when I believe it will come to pass in previous videos, so I won't dwell on that. Now I'm going to move on to another development that I haven't spent a lot of time looking into, but that is the situation in Egypt. Of course, Egypt has just gone to the polls and elected a new president. They're declaring that the Muslim Brotherhood candidate has won the election, and many are declaring, because of this happening, that this has fulfilled the prophecy found in Isaiah 19. Some see the victory of the Muslim Brotherhood as the fulfilling of Isaiah 19:4. And this verse states, "And the Egyptians will give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts." And as I've said, some are saying that this very well could be the Muslim Brotherhood candidate coming to power. Frankly, I think that's a little premature at this point in time. We'll see what happens, but at this present time there's a different reality actually in Egypt. But that certainly could change if indeed the Muslim Brotherhood is able to wrestle power from the Egyptian generals who are actually in charge of the country at this time. And here's an article out of the National Conservation, which says that everything uncertain in Egypt after generals rewrite the rules. And that was written yesterday actually. It says, "We might not know for sure who is Egypt's president until tomorrow, when the election commission overseeing the recent vote will issue the definitive results. But the question is whether that really matters much anymore. Egyptian politics have been upturned over the last 4 days, and everything one could assume about the country's transition to civil rule has vanished into smoke. The Supreme Council of the Armed Forces will not hand over power to civilians on June 30th, as it had promised Egyptians multiple times and assured the international community. Instead, it will hand over only symbolic control to an elected president whose powers have been largely gutted, while the military will continue as a constitutional power in its own right, alongside the executive, legislative, and judiciary, and also hold the powers of the dissolved parliament." It goes on to say the new president may have some power, but he will have to look hard for it in the interim constitution that SCAF, just modified. The new president certainly will not be able to appoint the defense minister and other senior military personnel. Perhaps the most telling move is that SCAF is appointing the chief of staff for the incoming president. In a normal republic, that would be one of the most powerful jobs in the country, held by a close associate of the chief executive. Here's something that's really telling in this article. It says, how long will the new president be around anyway? Perhaps no longer than the end of the year, according to some observers close to SCAF. Although the Constitution states presidential terms last 4 years, it is now probable that the adoption of a new Constitution at the end of the year will mean new general elections. Combined with the dissolution of Parliament, it is almost as if SCAF was buying time for political forces other than the Brotherhood and perhaps their allies to prepare for elections. And when I say SCAF, I mean the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces in Egypt, which is basically the generals. The article does end by saying some defenders of SCAF's recent actions say that things are not so bad, that this offers the opportunity for a clean reboot of a transition that was deadlocked by Egypt's Islamist secular divide. Now the army will impose its own constitution, and by 2013, new elections will give a new parliament and perhaps also a new president. Frankly, when I heard that the generals were going to turn over power by the end of the month, I was extremely skeptical in the first place. You don't do what they've done over the last 30 plus years as a controlling factor in Egypt and just automatically turn over power. That I've seen is highly, highly unlikely. If the Muslim Brotherhood is to take over in Egypt, they will have to do so forcefully. And I simply don't see the generals going smoothly or without a fight if in fact there is an uprising. So whether or not this is the start of the prophesied Isaiah 19 prophecy is still yet to be seen. But if they are able to wrestle power from the generals, then you may very well be looking at the start of this prophecy being fulfilled. Well, now switching to the U.S. and Israel in their fight against Iran's nuclear program. The Washington Post has reported that U.S.-Israel developed flame computer virus to slow Iranian nuclear efforts, officials say. And reading says the United States and Israel jointly developed a sophisticated computer virus named Flame that collected intelligence in preparations for cyber sabotage aimed at slowing Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon, according to Western officials with knowledge of the effort. The massive piece of malware secretly mapped and monitored Iran's computer networks, sending back a steady stream of intelligence to prepare for a cyber warfare campaign, according to the officials. The emerging details about Flame provide new clues to what is thought to be the first sustained campaign of cyber sabotage against an adversary of the United States. This is about preparing the battlefield for another type of covert action, said one of the former high-ranking U.S. intelligence official, who added that Flame and Stuxnet were elements of a broader assault that continues today. Cyber collection against the Iranian program is way further down the road than this. A little background on Flame. It says Flame was developed at least 5 years ago as part of a classified effort, code-named Olympic Games, according to officials familiar with U.S. cyber operations and experts who have scrutinized its code. The U.S.-Israeli collaboration was intended to slow Iran's nuclear program, reduce the pressure for a conventional military attack, and extend the timetable for diplomacy and sanctions. And I think that this is probably going to be the continued direction in which Israel and the U.S. do deal with Iran's nuclear program. Frankly, I don't believe that Israel will attack Iran, especially when they do have such a powerful, should I say, technical apparatus in place where they can deploy different cyber attacks. So I think that's going to continue to be the case. It's I have been listening to Israel and their officials talk about attacking Iran for over 5 years now, and every month it's almost a new story. But yet they don't attack, and I don't know that they ever will attack. In fact, Bible prophecy does not mention the fact that Israel will attack Iran, but actually the other way around. So I think that is where Israel will continue to put invest their time in trying to destroy Iran's nuclear facility in various cyber attacks, and I think the U.S. will be right there with them in partnering to continue to allow sanctions to take its toll. I have read various intelligence articles regarding cyber warfare and the direction that they are taking, and it looks to be that the future is basically the control, should I say the taking over control of a nuclear device instead of trying to destroy it. I believe that's probably where we're headed, and I think Israel is on the cutting edge of actually doing that. So no, I actually don't see a future attack anytime soon, at least on this side of the U.S. elections. But let me just close by saying this right here. That doesn't mean the rapture of the church could not happen at any moment. So you need to be ready when it does take place. But there's something more important than that could take place in your life, and that is that you could die before any of this takes place. And if you do, where would you spend eternity? Is it going to be heaven or is it going to be hell? And I would hate for you to miss the opportunity to know the Lord as Savior today. So I encourage you to come to the Lord today before it's everlasting too late. This is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.